Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Tochinsky. I am a business teacher at John F. Kennedy Memorial High School. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the presentation today. I usually make every single one, but being in school, and you'll soon find out that the biggest thing you want to do is get involved. And I happen to be a boys basketball coach, and we're just busy now with scrimmages and practices and games. So the timing just happened to not be right. I always attended since Dr. Groot asked me to show up. I love doing it, and hopefully I'll be able to attend next semester around February, I believe. So hopefully the timing is a little bit better. A little bit about myself. Graduated Rampo from 2012. I was a business major, did education as well. Right after that, I taught at Elizabeth High School in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Did that for a year, and I happened to get a call from one of the teachers at my alma mater, which is John F. Kennedy, saying, we'll have a business teaching position opening. I applied, interviewed, and luckily for the past 2 years, I've been teaching at my alma mater, which has been amazing. So, that's where I am now. What I'll do now is kind of turn the presentation around so you can see my screen. I'll talk over the PowerPoint and just talk about reading and writing, what I do in my classroom being a third year teacher. So I hope you all enjoy. So those are just a few pictures of my school. One being the logo on the left, the right, it's kind of like our lobby. And as I told you before, I currently teach at John F. Kennedy Memorial High School, my alma mater. Right now I'm teaching Google Apps, which deals with Google Docs, Slides, Google Sheets, Google Sites, all the Google platforms. And I'm also teaching a class called Video Game Design, which on the bottom left deals with GameStyle. It's kind of like a coding software, but without the coding, more drop and drag, where the students can make video games. So it's pretty neat. That's a junior, senior class. And now I'm also teaching a freshman level class called Digital Presentations, which deals with PowerPoint, iMovie, Keynote, all the different presentation tools. And they can also obtain a Microsoft Office Specialist Certificate in PowerPoint, which is what the school offers near the end of the year. So something they can put on their resume for colleges. It's really neat. They get into it, and kids really enjoy both those classes. Big thing at JFK that we have, it's what's called writing across the curriculum, and then I'll go into my reading and writing examples. It's writing outside the English courses. So any course you teach, whether it's math, science, history, business, for example, with myself, we are required to give at least 2 writing assignments per marking period. So it's to help them with their SAT, with writing. And I enjoy giving the assignments, and we also have what's called a word of the day, which the business department uses across all classes, where it's a kind of like a do now with definitions for SAT words and also content words. That it's a quick do now that gets the students settled in and begin working, and which I'll show you an example of that of actually this month of December. So here's the word of the day. This is one the kids actually use in my class. It's a bunch of SAT words. We also do it by content. So for November, it was actually the business department's month to come up with the word of the day. So we use words like capital. What does capital mean? Profit, revenue, business words. So here you have a bunch of SAT words, which will have them copy the word, definition, and they have to create a sentence on their own. So it's good to involve words that they'll see, that they can use in their writing. Also, they may see reading in the higher level English classes, in my classes, any class really, and also that they'll see on the SATs. Here's actually a writing assignment that I assigned for my video game design class, and I put the WATC, the writing across the curriculum. It was a research paper. Remember, you're dealing with juniors and seniors. They're big into video games, so I try to morph the subject into the subject of video games, what they enjoy, into the writing assignment. So this had a deal. You also had to include in-text citations, which you'll use a lot when they go on to college. We're excited. So this is a really in-depth paper that they had to do. It counted as a major assignment. But even in business or video game design, there's always room for writing in the classroom. And I gave them the 3 topics of violence, social behavior, and intellect. This is kind of just an introduction of my paper that I'm giving you. and they had a good time with it, and we found a lot of interesting facts, and that is just one example of how I use writing in my classroom. Secondly, this is for my freshman level class. We talked about, this is for the actual digital presentations course. We talked about social networking, pros and cons. This was around October, so that's the National Bullying Prevention Month. We talked a lot about bullying, which they are really passionate about. We watched the documentary The Facebook Obsession, and all that combined in our discussions, they had to answer the question, is social networking good for our society? And this was another one of the writing across the curriculum assignments. Once again, they were really passionate about it. This one was more persuasive, as the previous ones are more research-based and data-based. This one is kind of just from what we talked about, their overall perspective, and they had to pick a side. And once again, writing in my classroom based off of our discussions. This here, I do a lot of, especially my video game design, a lot of them reading current events. I also introduce current events, so this is kind of reading involved. Here was an app that just came out last week, actually, where it's called Wakey, where you can wake up to a stranger calling you. So it's a little awkward, but I like to throw these things in there. This is kind of like my niche as we start class. After the word of the day, and then maybe another do now more specific to what we're learning, we'll go on the technology, look up current events, what's going on now, and I'll have them read and sometimes do summaries, current event summaries. I'm big into the new apps, so this is how I include the reading into my class, in which they enjoy, make it relevant to something that they can go ahead and download this app and they use at home. And they just came in today saying how they use this Wakey app that just released on the iOS store. So big into technology, big into the current events, the reading for them. Here's another one. This was a $7 smartwatch, which I forget the country it came from. Once again, more reading into the classroom. They were getting excited. I think one or two kids actually bought the watch for the parents for Christmas. So it's pretty neat, but how I introduce reading into my business and my more technology courses with the video game design and Google Apps. This, going back to writing in my classroom, I also taught finance in my last year, actually. So last time I presented, I was teaching finance. This was a project off of Shark Tank, in which they had to come up with a business plan, and they created a product on their own, and they had to pitch it to me. And I actually had a few of my college friends come and act as sharks. So it was pretty neat. But this was a big business plan. The main 7 elements of a business plan that I had them include. Took some things out, but they had to write a executive summary, had to come up with their statement of purpose, description of the business, the marketing plans. We talked about the 4 Ps, talking about the competition, how they operate, quality control. So this was really in-depth, a really in-depth writing assignment. My finance class usually consists of juniors and seniors, and they got really, really into this with the whole frenzy that is Shark Tank nowadays. And I remember writing business plans when I was at Ramapo. So, they're kind of using what I've learned in college, putting it into high school, so they know, if they decide to major in business, what an executive summary is and parts of a business plan. Once again, writing in business, really neat assignment too that they all enjoyed. And for that financial class, kind of to my last example, including both writing and reading, this is a website called kidblog.org. You can kind of see it in the top left-hand part. Right here, if you see my mouse circling it, it's a blog. And, I would usually post a thread that they would have to respond to, or based on something in class, I tell them to blog about it. And gets the kids writing. It's more of a comfortable state of writing for them. I do make sure that writing is formal. But typing on a computer in their own blog, they can pick their own wallpaper, more comfortable for them, I believe. And they really enjoy doing it, and I also have them respond to classmates. So that incorporates both the writing, them creating their post, and then also reading other their classmates, taking the information that they're getting, and then responding back to them. So incorporating both reading and writing. Here's an example of a student. A real long. This is when we first started last year, going into careers. Before we would finance, before we talked about money. You got to make money. So we talked about They actually had them do personality tests, and they were just giving me their answers, and kids would comment on them, what they thought about that person, did they fit the extrovert or introvert description. But I also use this for current events as well, for what we're learning about problems. Talking about the financial shutdown that we had last year, their thoughts, and kind of giving a nice interaction between um, each other online. So incorporating both reading and writing into my content. And lastly, I'd like to give a few tips for your soon-to-be teachers. I was one of you. Um, I'm only 24, so I understand what you're going through. Biggest thing is, a lot of nowadays, so with technology, we look online to find jobs. Biggest thing to where schools usually post jobs first is in the newspaper. So around March, April, look in the Star Ledger, look at the Home News Tribune or your community newspaper. The biggest thing is if you're kind of, as the summer goes on and you're not really, you're getting interviews but not any acceptances, I'd also reach out to your old principals. They're always looking to help out. I feel even if they give you some words of advice, it's a great thing, and they could also, help you if they see openings. They may reach out to you. But especially as the summer goes along, don't get discouraged because schools hire all the way up to the last week. When I worked at Elizabeth, I was hired 2 weeks before school started, so it was stressful. But don't get discouraged as the summer goes on. And as I said, reach out to your past administrators. With interviewing, you also want to answer their questions, but ask the questions that you want answered. So, how many classes are you going to teach? How many preps do you get? How many colleagues in your department? How do observations work? Also get information from your end. And, once you get that job, like you all will, that first year, ask. Soak it all in, ask as many questions as you can. I do it now, and I'm in my second year at JFK, third year teaching. I'm always asking my colleagues, and they've been a big help, and I wouldn't be as successful as I am now without them. So ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be shy to ask. I didn't come to the realization that you don't have all the answers that first year, and that's fine. You're learning yourself. So just ask, and you'll become a better teacher as you obtain that information from others. So hope you enjoyed the presentation. Reading and writing in my content, I gave you a few examples. And lastly, just ended with a few more tips for success. I'd like to thank Dr. DeGroot for allowing me to send you this. I also have handouts that she'll send you. And she also has my email address. If you like to ask any more questions, I'll be free to answer. And hopefully I'll be able to attend the next time around come February. Thank you.